Hey, what's up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique, and I'm really excited to let you guys know that we now have Roly Studio, Roly Equator, and Roly expansion packs on pluginboutique.com. Now, if you have an MPE capable keyboard like any of the Roly keyboards, then you are super pumped about it. Even if you don't though, if you have a standard keyboard or you're just using your QWERTY keyboard or MIDI files, these still offer incredible sounds and options. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of how to get started with Roly Studio, and hopefully in a future video, we'll get into doing some sound design in Equator. Okay, before we jump into the ins and outs of the Roly Studio player, I'm going to play you an example track that I've made that uses 6 instances of the Studio player with different sounds. Everything you're about to hear, except or excluding the vocals, obviously, and the drums, were generated inside of the Roly Studio player. So let's go ahead and check this out before we jump into kind of the overview. If you want to skip it, you can use the time codes in the video description.
Love hurts and you know sometimes I can't help losing my mind, yeah. But now I'm feeling that I'm moving on, but every time quiet when coming home, and all alone, loneliness keeping me my ghost. I'm trying to make a sense and find a reasons to hide, reasons to fight for love. We're giving feels so bad, but what is reasons to fight for love? What is reasons to fight for love? What is reasons to fight for love?
All right, so there you go. That's just a little project I made. I'll leave a link in the video description too to that construction pack. You can find it on Loop Masters and in Loop Cloud. But just to run you through what it is here for the lead and the drop. And then for just the kind of standard string throughout. Pretty straightforward there. For the intro pads, really pleasant sounding. And then I have some additional mid to high content. That's a different patch. And about where kind of the pre-drop comes in, or the chorus or the build-up, it actually switches on the multi-layer arpeggio, which I'll talk about in a little bit. So it's using 2 layers there. We've actually got like 2 layers of the 3-layer multi-arpeggiator going. There's also a kind of belly piano here as well. And I've got the macro going. So it gets kind of really distorted down there towards the bottom. And then I have a really nice clean sub. Really low end frequency there. That kind of clicking is because I have it side chained. And then I have some mid-level bass. You know, and those two combined, just a really thick sounding bass to really sell that drop. So this is Roly Studio player on the screen. It's a preset player. So you don't have full synth engines, or you do rather, but you don't have full control over the synth engines. And you've got presets from Equator, Cypher 2, and Strobe 2. In the stock version that you get on Plugin Boutique comes with 2 plugins. You get the Roly Studio Player and the Roly Studio Drums, over 500 presets, and that's including over 300 MPE capable presets. If you don't know what MPE is, it's kind of the new MIDI where you have 5 units of control. So the pressure, how you move your finger left to right, up and down on the key, and moving from one key to another, and so on. It just offers way more flexibility and capability in terms of performance. It is the future, and Roly is really leading the way with this technology. So this is the whole user interface right here. It's very simple to use. We have the preset browser over here. I've got all of the different packs to choose from. Down here, we can choose the actual presets. We can do our searching and filtering as well. I just have this ICE keys loaded. And you can see right here, if it says E, it's from the Equator instrument. So this was designed in Equator. Some other keys from Strobe and Cypher are down here as well. But let's just stick with the ICE keys for a minute. Like most preset players, you have a few controls over the actual sound that was created. You just don't have absolute control. So for this particular preset, I have soft attack, timbre, and reverb controls for the preset. And you can expect each one of the presets to have 3 different parameters here that are more geared toward whatever type of preset you have loaded. We also have an XY pad down here that can adjust timbre and rhythm as well. And all of these things are really crafted towards like Roly blocks and the Seaboard and so on. But like I'm showing you right now, I've got it inside of Ableton Live and I'm just using my mouse and key and I'm still getting incredible results. So while it's geared toward those things, and if you have those things, this is, absolutely next level. I'm still getting insane sound quality out of this without it. So from there, we also have built-in audio effects. And if I turn this module on, no matter what preset I go to now, this is going to stay the same. So this is like an effects chain on top of, let's say, if you had reverb inside of the preset, this is on top of that and after that. And if I click right here, these are all the different types of effects that we can add. I've got a filter, chorus, crusher, delay, distortion, some other filter types, a pitch, wobbler, and some reverb as well. And once I assign that, I then have control over 2 of the parameters in the XY pad. Now I can have up to 4 effects, and right now I'm just looking at this reverb, but if I click right here, I'll look at the distortion, but if I click multi over here, I'll actually see all 4 pads at once. So the reverb is this one. You can see how the line kind of connects it there. Distortion would be this one. And if you have like Roly blocks, you can set these right up to it, and then you'll have access over those right on your blocks, and it's really, really cool. But if you don't, you can still do it right here inside of the GUI. So I had that one actually duplicated. So one thing that's really cool about these effects, and they're really geared toward performance, is right now, if I move this around and go to the kind of low pass over here on the top left, and then let go, the effect will turn off. So listen to what that sounds like. So you see how the effect just gets bypassed after I'm not touching it? If you want it to work like a normal effect, you can turn on the hold here. And then no matter where you leave that position, it will stay in that position in terms of how open or closed the filter is. So that's very, very cool. Roly Studio doesn't stop there. Let's go back to Icy Bells for a second. And I'm going to come in here and just look at this MIDI. I've just got this one kind of MIDI note there. There's this thing called smart chords. And if I turn that on, anytime I get a C note, it's going to play a triad. However, if I hit a D note and change this, it will play, right here, will play a 5th or a 6th, or let's put it up to a 7th. So let's come into my MIDI clip over here and let's right click and just consolidate real fast. And let's move this up to a D. If I come in here and you look at the keyboard down here at the bottom, it will show you what's being played. Okay, so it's playing anytime a C note is in the MIDI clip or pressed on your keyboard, you'll get a triad. Anytime you press a D on your keyboard, you'll get a seventh. You can change the score. You can change the scale over here as well. So if we wanted to go D major instead. Now this has changed. For instance, C isn't a part of this scale, so that's not going to work. However, my D, instead of playing the seventh like it would before, is now going to play a triad. And you can get really interesting results by changing the values of each one of these notes. You also have a strum feature over here. If I turn this up, we can go the other way. Double clicking will reset that. We can add a bass note. And this is a really, really cool feature as well. Go ahead and turn that off. There's also a multi-layer arpeggio. Now, what's this about? We actually have 3 different layers that we can run at the same time. How many steps do we want this one to be? Let's say 16. And let's say we want it at a rate of a quarter note. And octave-wise, we want it on the second octave. And just for keeping things interesting, let's move it right here. Keep that kind of changing. Now I can activate the second layer as well by just turning the number of hits on, changing the octave. Let's leave this one down, and let's really crank it up to a half a note. And we can change the arpeggio pattern. We have dotted, straight, and triplet times. And let's, instead of 2 hits, let's go 4 hits. And then we can actually add a third layer over here as well. So if we really want to get crazy. I also wanted to point out before we check out some more presets that these 3 parameters over here are kind of independent of the presets. So if I load a preset here, if I left multi-layer arpeggio on, it will stay on with the parameters that I had. And that goes the same with the audio effects and the smart chords. So if you're looking for the right pad with the smart chord sequence that you have laid out, or the right arpeggio you already have, you can easily flip through the presets and keep all that information and just find the right sound, which I think is very, very cool. I'm going to turn that off. All right, so there you go. There's a quick introduction to the ROLI Studio Player. We're really excited to be partnered with them and have these great devices on our website. So click the link in the video description to find out more. I've been Joshua Kasper. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.